What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We're here for, of course, the UFC 257 preview. I'm here joined by Jay for the first time on the channel. Obviously, been on previous channels together, and now we're back. Of course, I had to get the Irishman in for the time with Conor McGregor. Jay, he's back. How excited
So that's where
are
you got me
tonight?
back. That's where you got me back.
Had to get the intro.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, pretty excited. Can't lie. There's a good feeling around it. That's the main thing with Conor. The last two fights, obviously, there was more questions I think needing to be asked about him in the build up to the Cerrone fight. You know, where was his head at? He's taking the nice approach. You know, how will that affect him to play the mental warfare game? But doesn't seem to be the case at all. Like I think we've seen from that performance, you know, he was firing on all cylinders, and I'd imagine it's going to be the same. Like he looks in great shape. I think he purposely made a statement coming out 155 yesterday, so he seems on it, and Poirier as well. Poirier's not as emotional, I don't think either. So I think this will be a good one, but I only have one outcome, I think.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because obviously, you know, we go back 12 months. Conor McGregor came out and said, I want to fight 3 times this year. Obviously, the first one being Cerrone. And you mentioned the ninth McGregor. Obviously, you know, 2018 and through 2019, we saw probably McGregor go through the worst period of his time, especially, you know, whether that's the Handling of Fame, the Khabib loss. Everything seemed to go like it was going on a big slide. You know, he had all this fame around him, news articles coming out, lawsuits coming out to him. But he's come back. 2020 was supposed to be his year. Obviously, that, you know, curtailed pretty drastically with the outbreak of COVID. And we saw him all year, didn't we? Going, I want to fight, I want to fight, I want to fight. And he's coming this week, and you know he's carrying that same energy from last year. But you know he is still nice McGregor. Do you think he's transitioned a little bit more? You know, a lot of people have taken that down to fatherhood, maybe.
Yeah, well, you have to remember, like, fatherhood for sure, because you mature over time when you, like, you know, become a parent. You know, I even see that myself, and I'm just like, I'm not Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? But so I see that in myself in terms of being a father. So obviously, of course, like you mature, but like, you know, the thing with kind of like you said, you know, with the frustrations in regards to last year, we said that, like you said, we were on previous channels before where we spoke about it. You know, he was frustrated, and I think we all kind of put his little retirement down to it's just frustration. They'll figure it out, and he'll be back. And sure enough, that's the case. I think it was at a time where like they couldn't afford to put him on without a crowd. They needed to like have a dry run basically and see how it works out. And I think it's got to the point now where it'll work out for both parties. You know, he can come back. He has a limited crowd. And then in regards to the majority, yeah, I just think it's a case of growing up. Like he was 24, 25 when he fought Dustin Poirier the first time round. So like that tells a lot as it is now. He's 32 years of age. You know, if you're throwing them games again to get into someone's head, I don't think it sticks anymore. And he doesn't need to. I think I thought about this yesterday. The one good thing about it is he doesn't need to do that anymore, because it's like he got to a point where he done all that to get to a selling point to where people tuned in and they want to see him lose or they want to see him win regardless. But now he's just got to the point where he doesn't need that anymore. His name alone is so big, and as well as a 12-year layoff, 12-month layoff.
Feels like 12 years.
It does. But a 12-month layoff as well, that helps the mystique around it. So it's going to be a big card. It's definitely going to sell pay-per-view wise. So I think, I just think it's a good time for him. I don't think he needs that trash talk anymore. You know, no doubt if he was to fight Khabib again, that trash talk will make it a swift return. Don't worry. But
do you think it would, or do you think it'd carry on along this line, or is it more or less how he feels on the day?
It definitely would with Khabib. It won't be as personal, I don't believe, you know, and as well, like he wasn't in a good headspace when he fought Khabib. You see it in the press conference 3 weeks out from a fight and he's showing up drunk, you know, the incident with the dolly and stuff and all. Like that won't happen again. But they don't like each other, so they're not going to sit on a stage and be respectful. You know, Conor respects Dustin, Dustin respects Conor. You know, you don't need to like each other, but there's a lot of respect. I don't even think them two respect each other as fighters, even though you should. You know, both skill sets are there to be respected. They don't even want to pay that respect. They don't like each other that much.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you watched the Looking for a Fight. Obviously, Khabib was in there. Obviously, that clip circulating around Dana being like, "Look at what Dustin and Conor are doing. Sorry, you could be doing 2 times that. And it's interesting that Khabib actually picked Conor to win within 2 rounds to Dean Thomas, which is interesting because obviously the bad buddy we expecting.
Do you not mean Eve Edwards?
Yeah, I feel sorry for him, but what we found out from that was that we need a show with Dean Thomas and Khabib from now on, because those two seem to get on very well, and it was quite funny to see the personal side of Khabib. Obviously, we see him a lot more, getting ready for battle. He's selling the fight. But the fact that him and Dustin Poirier seem to be getting on, seem to be on such good terms for that fight, and Khabib and Conor be on such bad terms. It's interesting that he said, "Oh, I think actually Conor's going to win this in 2 rounds, and maybe if it gets later on, then I can see maybe Dustin pulling the win out."
Well, yeah, but I think what you're seeing from Khabib in that conversation was he doesn't let his hatred cloud his judgment. He knows how dangerous Conor is. There's no 2 ways about it. If you remember back to the last Poirier fight, Khabib's taking pictures of Conor walking into the cage, and they're getting a selfie backstage. So Khabib, there was a time when Khabib respected him, and there was a time when Khabib admired his skills. He probably won't admit that to you now, but yeah, he's just not letting his emotions out his judgment of how good Conor is.
Definitely. I think it's interesting, and it's crazy how we've come here to speak about tonight's fight, and we're still talking about Khabib versus Conor. It's almost inevitable that, once you mention either one's name, the other person gets involved.
Yeah, but like you said a second ago, I was surprised that Dana said that Poirier and McGregor is trending higher than McGregor and Khabib, because that's the biggest one they've ever done. It's the first time they've ever went over 2 million buys. So we could not imagine McGregor Poirier doing that. I'm not saying it's not out of realm of possibility, especially with a pandemic and stuff. Of course it is, but I never would have imagined it. But then again, Dana will just say these little teasers there to try and get Khabib back. You even seen the way Dana reacts. He's like, "I'm just saying, I'm not trying to tell you to fight. I'm just saying, you're trying to get him to fight, But yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting when, obviously we respect what they do, but every sort of pay-per-view, they always go, especially after Monday, Tuesday, he's always going, "Oh, this is trending more than, the X biggest pay-per-view." And it turns out, obviously with ESPN, it's a lot more difficult. And as you mentioned, there's only 2,000 fans in attendance tonight. So there's, another 15, 16,000 that are going to have to buy it online, other because they're not in the arena. And you'd imagine, people from Ireland.
You can't stream it anymore.
Aye, it's going to be interesting. But obviously, he's got that whole nation behind him who usually would be in Vegas. They have to watch it from home now on pay-per-view, so it's going to be interesting.
And you have to quarantine. Well, not quarantine, but obviously depending on where you are in the world, there's restrictions. So you're only allowed a certain amount of people per household. So it means more people have to stay at home. Yeah. So, but it means more people have to stay at home and pay for the fight.
Unless they're going to, they might want to, test Dana's sort of a piracy, treatment, mightn't they? But I don't think
that's what they said. You're not allowed to stream it now.
Yeah, end up in jail by 6 a.m. because Dana's found your house. But
I'm pretty sure Dana's more illegal by saying he has people watching their house and tapping your phones. That's on some Piers Morgan shit, that is.
Allegedly, but that was the most aggressive part of the press conference, that one. But going back to the main event, of course, McGregor, I keep having those comparisons because obviously his lack of time in the cage, it feels like maybe, is he the Francis Ngannou of lightweight?
No.
He's only in the cage for 40 seconds. He hits so hard. It's like, you see both of them too, just itching to get in the cage, and hopefully, we see them both have title shots this year.
I love how much you reach, man. It's so good.
Hey, I'm going to be having another reach later when Eminem comes out. We've been doing
we'll get to that. 2 stands watching MMA. No, the thing with McGregor's power, right? Again, it's just kind of something that kind of came to mind. Do you ever notice that McGregor, his power? Fair enough, he doesn't always get a strict KO, put someone conscious. He obviously Aldo and then Bushinger before he came to the UFC, but his power is weird where he never rocks people in the sense of you never see anybody stumble, you never see anybody do the chicken dance, don't you know? It's weird that his power just goes straight past that, right? It doesn't knock them out, but they never wobble. He just drops them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird one. Normally, look at Poirier and Gaethje. Poirier throws the left hand and Gaethje's all over the place, and then he finishes. Same with Alvarez and Max Holloway. He rocked Max Holloway, Because McGregor he doesn't rock you. He doesn't give you a chance to dance around your feet. He just puts you on your arse, like, and that's a weird one. That I
But,
find his power is
but
definitely freaky.
it's interesting. Obviously, the two best examples of that in recent times, obviously Eddie Alvarez, that was a 4-punch combo that, threw him, and he'd already spent the first round on his ass 2 or 3 times. It
Yeah.
wasn't like one straight flash KO. It was
Hmm.
3, 4, 5 strikes clean, landed clean, and
Yeah.
obviously Alvarez was clean unmatched. And then Cerrone was a shoulder, a head kick, and then the left hand, of course.
Hmm. Yeah. Like, that's what I mean. Like, he clearly has a lot of weapons in order to put you down and stuff. But like, it's just a weird kind of case of strength that he has. I find, like you said, with the accuracy with that the Eddie Alvarez fight, like, you'd be doing well to find a better 4-punch combo than the one to finish that fight. And it almost came to fruition the first minute of the fight. It was the same kind of thing: left, step back, right. Obviously, there wasn't the second right hand with it, but it's so clean, and that's gonna come against Poirier tonight. I think it's gonna be like on the end of a jab. McGregor's gonna clatter him. He's just gonna slip, and I think his left's gonna come across nicely. Whereas the first round or the second round, I definitely think that's gonna be the making of it. It's gonna be a counter shot that does it.
Yeah, I keep bouncing him between my head because obviously these two have been a lot more nice, a lot more mature to each other. I'm
Mm.
thinking, does McGregor want to go 5 rounds? Does he want to test himself? Because he keep coming out and saying, I want time in the octagon, but it's just more or less whether Dustin can withheld the power for 5 rounds. I think McGregor's more or less saying, I'm going to knock him out in 60 seconds, but I would like to go to 5 rounds. It's just that Poirier can't handle that from me.
Yeah, that could be the case. Like, it could be the case where he does want to go longer. Like, I'm pretty sure he would have like. You don't go through a 3-month camp to just have a fight over in 13 seconds like against Jose Aldo. You want to get in there and you feel a fight. Obviously, it feels great, I'm sure, to get it just like that. Same way with Cerrone. Like, you're putting your body through hard work for months on end in preparation. You'd like a little bit longer time in there. And I'm sure, like, I believe lightweight is the best way in order for him to gain rounds and without losing a bit of steam. People call him an 8-minute fighter or a 2-round fighter. I'm pretty sure there's a little bit more in the tank than that. Like, obviously we seen he went to 5 with Diaz at 170, and he gassed, and then he got a second win, and he came back again. But like, Khabib, he looked all right, but who doesn't get tired against Khabib? The
True, true.
Alvarez fight, he looked fresh at, like, towards the 8 minute, to where, like, it looked like he had another round or two at that pace. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about how he manages that, and whether he's efficient enough to maintain his pace throughout the fight.
100%. Obviously, it's hard to make those excuses, and obviously he wouldn't. But you're forgetting that he was meant to fight 155-pound RDA against Nate when he fought Nate Diaz the first time, so he's probably cutting down to 155. Obviously, maybe not a maximum strength like he was against Cerrone, where he knows he's fighting at 170 on that night.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Diaz was already at 170 at that point, and we forget that he went 30 minutes with Mayweather. That's even though he lost that fight,
It's
the
repetition, isn't it?
repetition that 30 minutes is longer than any title fight it's been in and going to be in MMA. So it just shows where his cardio is at, really. It's just that we don't see it
Yes.
enough in the African.
Yeah, exactly. It's just an extra round on top of the Diaz fight. But the thing with that is, like, it's gonna sound like I'm being disrespectful to boxing, because it's not. Like, boxing is it's very intense training, but, like, McGregor has to use more weapons in MMA. So, a fan, you probably should tire out more in MMA than you should in boxing. And he went 10 rounds. He made a good account of himself. So I think people are making too much out of this. Like, he's only really tired once in the UFC. You know, and that was the Diaz first fight. Okay, he tired in the second, but he caught his wind and he came back. There's no reason why that probably couldn't happen tonight. If you seen him getting tired in the third round, who's to say he doesn't come back in the fifth, or the fourth and the fifth? You know what I'm saying? We don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it could be a case. Like, let's say he does go out tonight and Poirier puts it on him in the third round, and McGregor's just blown out of his arse by the end of the fourth. Then you can say, right, well, it's 2, 3 or 4 times. So yeah, people probably are right that you do tire out. And that's just how your body's designed, and it's not your fault, because clearly he puts in the preparation. But yeah, like, again, I've only seen it against Diaz. If you use the Khabib match or the Khabib fight as an excuse for McGregor turn, or has gas and issues or whatever, I think are very, very silly. You're
It's
probably
hard.
just a hater at that point.
It is hard because obviously if he's only 60% himself going into fight night because of what he's been doing the whole camp, he's not going to have that duration, is he? But you know, it's interesting what you mentioned there, and it'd be interesting to see. I do think we're going to get a McGregor season this year. I think we do get
Yeah,
fans
so do
back
I.
gradually, and I do think we see him fight 3, maybe 4 times. But I do think one of those is going to be in the boxing ring, which kind of sours. I think he fights tonight, gets the lightweight title, maybe defends it once at the end of the year, and then gets ready for Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, I definitely think he boxes again, but I don't think it happens in 2021. I know he's saying it is, and the talks are getting bigger and stuff like that. I don't see that happening. I do think 2021 is strictly MMA. I'd imagine. I don't think Dana would let him go straight to boxing as soon as he wins the belt, if he wins the belt,
I'll make sure he
because we've
defends it
seen
before he gets stripped again.
exactly, yeah, and that's the only thing. It's the only knock you can have on Conor McGregor is that he's never defended the title. He's won 4 world titles and he's never defended them. You know what I mean? Like, or 5 if you count the interim.
Aye.
But the thing with him is he's not focused on defending them. He's focused on the next big thing. So how do you gauge it? Like, if you want to be a true champion, as people say, you defend your title. I remember there was a case where you were never classed as a champion unless you defended your belt once. You know, so if that's the case, you may as well wipe out Eddie Alvarez. Jeez, I'm gonna be stuck now. Watch, I can't even think of one. But how many champions win titles and lose in the next fight? Luke Rockhold, you know. Yeah.
Yes, it is crazy, and obviously, you know, it'd be interesting because I think, albeit he's a competitor at heart, he was really, you know, making himself financially secure for his family and his next couple of generations of families. Now he's not looking for the biggest paycheck. Maybe he's not looking for the biggest sort of prize. Maybe he
Oh,
will
he's looking
defend.
for the biggest paycheck. Don't worry.
We see him at 170 in the summer. Like, oh, here we go again, champ all over again.
Yeah. Jesus.
But
I mean, I like his ambition. And I'm a fan of Conor McGregor, but there's something about Kamaru Usman that I don't want to see him matched against.
leave Usman and Colby Covington aside. If Masvidal wins that title, let's have that talk about the 170-pound
Yeah, I'm
division.
good for that. I'm good for that because, but that's like another Diaz fight for me. You know,
Yeah.
Masvidal can take a smack. He'll come at you. You know, so we could be doing that one all over again.
I 100%. And, you know, we haven't really spoken much about tonight, I guess, but we'll have a quick look at the tail of the tape. It's just McGregor's season, isn't it? It's McGregor we can, you know, we haven't seen him in 12 months. I guess we're just all excited. But 26-6, obviously, Dustin Poirier, since that loss against McGregor, has come back and looked phenomenal. You know, both of them 5'9", 155, got a 2-inch reach advantage there for McGregor and half an inch in leg reach there for Dustin Poirier. Expecting Poirier, no, he is a boxer and a striker by trade, but you know we saw him use those leg kicks. I think against Dan Hooker, where he looked phenomenal, get a fight of the year contender. His game has adjusted a lot since, you know, as you'd expect from 6 years ago.
Yeah, well, his hands have definitely gotten better. You know, his hands have most definitely got better, but I don't think people. It's not his hands that I'm worried about. It's more so his durability and his conditioning because he can go all night long. Like you seen Justin Gaethje chop the legs out of him. How do you get your legs chopped out like that and still manage to get around the cage enough to plant your shot and KO Justin Gaethje like that? You know what I mean? Like Poirier's a dog, and I remember we said this before on another video that we done a long time ago. This is obviously in the middle of McGregor's retirement, but I said it after the Dan Hooker fight. I said Poirier is the best lightweight on the planet, not named Khabib. And like he should always be classed as number one. Even though Gaethje is number one right now in the rankings, it has to be, to me, Dustin Poirier is earned that. I think he's literally the best lightweight. Now Conor coming back into the picture, it's just gonna like change the whole dynamic, isn't it, of the division? Because you know he gets one win. Like let's be honest, if McGregor fought number 8 in the lightweight division tonight and wins, McGregor gets a title shot. It doesn't matter who he fights.
He could
He's
fight
only a win
someone
away from.
unranked and get the title shot next.
He can fight Jake Paul and get a title shot. He can fight anybody and get a title shot. It's what his name carries. Yeah, but like this is as much as we're going on about Conor and all. Like I still do kind of like I'm pretty consistent in my opinion, Dustin Poirier, that he is the best lightweight there. Like, and for Conor to come back and beat him, obviously I don't think Conor should be the underdog in the sense that like he's knocked him out before in 90 seconds, but beating Dustin Poirier this time round is huge for Conor. It's huge for the landscape of the lightweight division because if Khabib does not retire, there's one person winning that lightweight title in 2021. That's Conor McGregor. I don't think Oliveira beats him. I don't think Oliveira can pose mad threats to him on the ground, of course. I would favour Oliveira on the ground. Every fight starts on the feet. Conor knocks him out. Oliveira's prone to a knockout. Same with Gaethje. Gaethje's there to get tapped up all day long. As tough as these fighters are, and as great as these fighters are, on the feet, there's not one person better than Conor McGregor in the lightweight division.
Yeah, and obviously it does feel like a very 50-50 fight tonight. Obviously they've both got, as you mentioned, Poirier's got his durability, probably has his X factor tonight, and obviously the striking for McGregor's his X factor. And we will have a quick look at the lightweight rankings, as you mentioned, because obviously we've got two more lightweights in the co-main event. But as you mentioned there, obviously Tony Ferguson, it feels like he's fallen out of this title picture for now. Obviously, he got unfortunately battered against Charles Oliveira. We've got Dan Hooker, RDA, Nate Diaz could be coming back to the lightweight mix. That would open up the trilogy perhaps.
Yeah, like with Tony Ferguson's two wins away from being back in number one title contention. And then who else did you say there? Who are we looking at? Oh, what you said, Nate Diaz. Yeah, look, the thing with Nate Diaz, right? Oh my God, Nate Diaz has a style that's perfect for Conor McGregor, right? That you're gonna get action-packed fights from start to finish. Probably McGregor will tee him up for the first 2 rounds, and then Diaz will come on him, right, and put the pressure on. But skill for skill, I don't think there's many people in that division Nate Diaz beats. Like, there's a lot of people better than Nate Diaz. And I've always been of that opinion. I love watching him fight. I love watching him and Nick fight because you're going to be on the edge of your seat. But skill for skill, them two fighters are not better than the top 10 in their divisions. They just aren't. Yeah, look, I'd welcome Nate Diaz back because there's good fights there. Like, I would imagine he's up next against Gaethje, or Tony Ferguson, whatever you want to do. Yeah, I think the majority of the top 10 beat Nate Diaz. I think the one thing Nate Diaz could get out of the top 10 was probably against Dan Hooker, because Dan Hooker loves to strike. And if that's a 5-round main event, I could see Nate Diaz winning that one, because his volume is a joke. His forward pressure is a joke. And if it goes to the mat, you'd favour Nate Diaz, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
It's not a losable fight for Dan Hooker, but it's not a losable fight for Dan Hooker, but that would be the one I give Diaz to.
I think last year we spent a lot of time looking at the bantamweight division. I think this year the lightweights have come out and gone, right, this is the division to watch this year. Obviously, we've got everyone, and it depends. Obviously, if Khabib retires or remains retired as he says he's going to do, then we've got a vacant title. We've got 5 or 6 names there that could all go for the title. Just imagine Dana White in the UFC. Even if Khabib comes back, if Conor McGregor wins tonight, we get the Khabib rematch, he takes the belt, and then you set up the trilogy where the only thing that was missing in the last 2 fights was a title on the line. It's like, that's all the money that he lost last year coming back into the purse.
Yeah, no, it's a strange dynamic with this division, and again, it all kind of plays on, what Khabib wants to do. Personally, I think Khabib is retired. I think if Conor wins, he will not want to give Khabib that rematch. Or he will not want to give Conor that rematch. He doesn't like him. He's not going to want to play any part in Conor earning an extra 50, 60 million. I think if he does fight, it's either GSP or maybe the Oliveira one, the fact that he mentioned that to Dana. But then again, you don't know what Dana's saying, like what's true and not with Dana, because, like, I would not be surprised if Khabib says, look, I'm done. Just leave me alone. You know what I mean? And Dana's like, right, well, let's just see how this week plays out, and then we can have another conversation, Dana's
ringing him up every Saturday at 3 a.m. asking what you're doing.
yeah, do you know what I mean? You're busy. Look, I don't know. I think the funny thing about the top 6 in that division is they're all realistically just one win away from a title shot, And clearly, 4 of them 6 are probably going to have to fight a little bit more because the other 2 are going to get a title shot, but yeah, it's a weird one. It's stacked right now, and that's a good thing, because lightweight's been stacked for how long? And like you said, the bantamweight division just kind of came up and got their showing for a few minutes, but lightweight's trying to take that back. There's killers there.
100%. And if McGregor wins tonight, you probably we'll look at the co-main event now. You're expecting the winner of the co-main tonight being like, right, Conor or Dustin. If Dustin wins, you're next in line for us. We're both. We both had the same sort of lengths of camps. We both fought at the same time. So theoretically, all bar any injuries and layoffs, we should be ready for the same time, same May. Let's have, if Dan Hooker wins tonight, McGregor wins, you really go, right, Hooker comes out and goes, right, McGregor, I want you next in May.
Well, look, Khabib retired in October, right? That was October when he fought Gaethje, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. They made the Dan Hooker fight 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago.
Oh, that, yeah.
So my idea of that was the two winners fight for the vacant title. Now, if Poirier and Dan Hooker come out victorious, as great as that fight was, I couldn't imagine that being a rematch for the title so soon. Because Hooker's only coming off a loss. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he's going straight back in with Poirier or something. It would be a weird one. With Conor, if Conor won, again, like I still couldn't see them giving him Hooker for the title. So I would imagine it'd probably be Oliveira or the winner of Gaethje and maybe Nate Diaz. Who knows?
It'd be interesting to see what the matchmaking is. Obviously, we know these four are fighting. Dana White obviously mentioned Nate Diaz. He did say it wasn't Tony Ferguson. Whether it's a Paul Felder, Makachev maybe, or RDA rematch. It would be interesting to see if they do Gaethje Oliveira and go, right, you got number one contender here tonight between McGregor and Poirier, and then that's the second number one contender match. And whoever wins the two, we see a title fight probably in July or August.
Yeah, look, again, you just don't know, because like how many? Look, I said this before. How many retirements do you see in MMA that are actually retired?
Not many.
No, if any. Like
Khabib
GSP
was
is
the only one
retired about.
that felt real.
Yeah, it felt real at the time, given the circumstances. His father passing away and stuff, and the promise to his mother, and he's beating every top contender in his division. There was no one there that he needed to beat because Tony Ferguson got wiped out by Justin Gaethje. That fight's gone. Then he's had to lose to Oliveira now, so there's definitely no way of that happening. So it probably all depends on what Oliveira does. Like if Khabib was to defend that title again, because if he did come back and fight, my pick is that he fights GSP, and that's not for a title. I put that down as a catchweight, I would imagine. But yeah, I don't know. I'm probably rambling. I can't remember what you said.
Yeah, I think the only way we see GSP and Khabib fight is probably they go, right, we're opening up the 165-pound division. These two are going to be the first title fight. Because either one of those are probably going to go, right, if you give them a title bout, whoever wins is going to go, right, I'm just retired anyway now, I'm done. So you can't give me the title anyway.
Exactly. So you wouldn't imagine. I don't think Dana's going to go with that division anyway. I don't think he likes the idea of it.
Definitely. But obviously, we have got another champion in the building, or a former champion, the lightweight champion from Bellator, Michael Chandler, of course, making his debut. He was the backup, of course, to Khabib, so he's been through this whole UFC Fight Island process once already. How excited are you to see him in the UFC octagon for the first time?
Yeah, very, very excited. Like, the thing with Chandler is, like, he always reminded me of Chad Mendes. He's just that wrestler with that heavy hand. He looks a bit more polished than Chad Mendes on the feet, and he's a more fast-paced fighter than Mendes. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see him fight. I am wary of the opponent, though. Like Dan Hooker, even though he's coming off a loss, he's dangerous for anybody. He's that lengthy range. His knees, his kicks, his elbows. He throws nice straight punches as well, like right down the pipe that get you. And he's good. From what I took from the Poirier fight, he's a very good volume puncher as well. And he can take a smack. Now, Chandler has a lot of power. Can he take that if he gets caught on the end of him? Because he does get caught. So it'll definitely be interesting. It's a winnable fight for both. I would favour Dan Hooker in that fight, but I'm most definitely excited to see Chandler. Me and you spoke before we went live about Chandler, and the thing with Chandler is, even if he was to come in and lose, it's not the end of the world. It's happened to many fighters coming in. Remember Hector Lombard was like just a destroyer in Bellator. I think he came in and he lost 2 on the bounce, and Dana made him drop weight. And then you had Eddie Alvarez come over, again, lightweight champion, has a win over Mike Chandler, comes in, loses to Cowboy, and then 2 fights later he knocks out RDA. It's a weird dynamic. It's all about how you carry yourself, I suppose.
I do agree with
I'm sure it'll be all right.
I do agree with the favourability of Dan Hooker there. I think he's growing, isn't he? He's very much still the underdog of the division, and he was someone who he came through fruition last year. I think he was very much a quote unquote underground fighter. If you're obviously from the region, New Zealand, Australia, you know who Dan Hooker is, and you've probably seen some highlights about him. But you probably, if you're a casual or someone watches one every sort of 3 or 4 months, you would have seen the Felder fight last year. You would have seen the Poirier fight last year, all around social media. If you didn't watch it on the night. And I think he would have, come off very well with that. He looked game as anything against Poirier, despite the loss. Same against the already got, some say fortunate on the night, winning that one, with it being in Auckland. But I think, this could be the year we see a couple of huge fights, Dan Hooker. You mentioned
Yeah,
the volume tracker. A Max Holloway fight would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
yeah, it's definitely, it has the makings of a breakout year for him. Where he really kind of cements himself as like a real top name in the division. One thing, like you said, how the Paul Felder fight, the Dustin Poirier fight, you'll be impressed by him. But the one thing I was mostly impressed about was just him himself in the media. Obviously, this is the most media he's ever done. Coming into this fight, being on the undercard of a Conor McGregor show. So, but yeah, I think I've watched nearly every single interview that he's done, and he carries himself really well. He seems like a good lad. He has the banter. He's down to earth. He's all for a laugh. But when he's serious, he's serious. The story of him having to quarantine again, or will stay in Dubai for a month or Abu Dhabi, and then go back home for another 2 weeks to quarantine and stuff like that. That kind of, they're all good little stories that kind of tell a lot about a person. Because that's 6 weeks away, or probably 2 months away, being that how long he's in Abu Dhabi already. That's 2 months away from his family and stuff, and it shows what he's there to do and what he's willing to go through in order to get that top fight. So I like Dan Hooker a lot, and I became a bigger fan of him through the media side of things. Because you see how many fighters you see when you have to do media and they just don't give a shit. They don't want to know. No, but yeah, and you can understand because they're going through weight cuts. They're trying to train. They're trying to eat at the right times. They want to get some sleep, and if they do interviews and they don't care. But Dan Hooker, I think, took it all in his stride, and that was the one thing I was really impressed about. And yeah, like, whoever wins this fight, I'll be happy for. I'll be excited to see more of them. And it's not the end of the world for either if they lose.
100%. I think Dan Hooker's becoming almost like that Justin Gaethje figure, where you're almost excited to see him whether he wins or loses. And
Yeah,
you
same
mentioned the
with
story
Poirier.
there. Yeah, exactly. The same with Poirier. You mentioned that story, and I feel sorry for him because obviously he posted a picture on social media of him, saying goodbye to his daughter. But before he even announced that he was going to be away for 6-7 weeks, that's got to be, you know, a horrendous thing. And obviously, you would know that being a father, of course, being away from your daughter for 6 weeks would be a very sort of heart-pulling moment. Obviously, his head coach there, Eugene Berman, isn't there because obviously he's training Adesanya, Hooker's obviously teammate and training partner. And he's also training for a world boxing title, Eugene Berman. So he's not even got his head coach there. It's pretty much him, almost out there on his own for the month. And if he loses tonight, obviously he doesn't seem that type of guy, but obviously he's going to be dealing with that being on Fight Island for the next month.
Yeah, well, he obviously has some teammates there with him, and some coaches there. Obviously, he doesn't have his head coach, and again, like you said, with all the the struggles that he'll have to go through in terms of the isolation and stuff. Like, you remember the last time when he fought Poirier, and he posted that picture where he had to stand across a rail between him and his daughter. You couldn't even. The one thing I want to do when I go home from work is I want to just give my daughter a hug. Can you imagine going from being in a fight of the year, in the US, and going home and you're not even able to hug your child? So I can imagine it'd be tough. But yeah, I think Dan Hooker can really be that. Like, I think Dan Hooker can afford another loss or two, and still grow in the sport. People like to write people off when they have a loss, but so many people come back better for it. Look at Charles Oliveira at the minute.
Yeah, he
Dan
does.
Hooker has a big place in this division.
100%. He does still, we'll have a look at the tail of tape in a second. He does still throw his game, and I know I think it was with Adam Catterall at BT. They asked him, how was your sort of feedback from the last performance? And he was like, all my coaches pretty much critiqued me. They didn't say anything positive about my last performance, really.
Yeah,
So you can see
yeah,
where, and I love the City kickboxing, sort of aura. And obviously they've got two champions now, and you can see Dan Hooker. He hasn't quite got the grudge on his shoulder or the chip on his shoulder yet, knowing that he's, not the champion that Israel Adesanya is, and obviously Alex Volkanovski is the featherweight champion. He knows that he's almost the only one left to get that belt, and you can see him on that sort of journey. But equally, he's just having fun right now.
yeah, and like the title's definitely not out of his reach either. Puts in a great performance tonight, and Dan Hooker's in title contention, and he'll have earned that. So, look, I wouldn't worry about him just yet. He has time on his side. The more he puts pressure on himself to get that title, then he'll never get it. You know what I mean? It's like anything. The more you wish for it and the more you want for it, it's not going to come knocking on your door. So you're better off just having that relaxed approach and enjoying what's ahead of you. And he seems like he's doing that this time around. He seems in a really good place. He seems in a great mood. He seems excited, so he seems happy, and a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter,
100%. It's gonna be interesting, is it? See what happens tonight. Obviously, it
Absolutely.
goes back to City Kickboxing in March, and you got Volkanovski, their champion, having just beaten Ortega, and you're gonna have Adesanya on the next sort of cubicle, holding both his belts, being a double weight champion. You got Dan Hooker there going, I've just had the hardest fight in my career.
Yeah. The thing
But
with him is, like, if he wins, he's still probably a fight away from fighting for the title, regardless
you
if
book him up
Khabib.
against Gaethje, don't you?
Yeah, but like, let's say Khabib doesn't retire. Khabib has to go through that fasting process with Ramadan as well, doesn't he? Like, so.
Yeah, so he'll be fine in September.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be surprised if Khabib said, right now, look, I'll have one more, and then Dana's like, what do I do with these boys here that have all won? So probably an interim. You never know. So he still could be just a title fight away. With one fight
It'll be
away
the
from the
third
title
year in a
fight.
row for a lightweight interim title if that happens.
Yeah, like, to be fair, how I remember, like, when I first started watching the sport, interim title fights were,
Even thought
one
between.
every 2 years. Like, now it's like, oh, champion's injured, be back in 6 weeks, interim title. What's the point?
You might as well just make a number one contender belt and be like, right, here's your number one contender belt. That's
Yeah,
what it signifies.
just give them a medal.
It's like, you're next. But let's have a quick look
Yeah.
at the Tad tape, of course. Oh, hold on. It's not working. We won't have a look at the Tad tape. I'll do it from the UFC website. Give me 1 second. My graphics not working right now, but
I've just seen a video here right in front of me of a teammate of Conor McGregor, Ben Forsyth, is it? He just put up a tweet. He goes, I know what it's like to get hit by Conor. Good luck, Dustin. And it's a video of Conor knocking him out in training with a head kick, with a head guard on.
Oh, Conor McGregor did tease that, didn't he? He's been teasing the media. He said it last time. Obviously, he got his boxing coach back in from Crumlin, and he knocked him out with a bleeding head kick. And you almost heard it tonight, being like, "Oh, I'm probably gonna get him with a head kick tonight." It'd be similar. Do you remember when Dustin?
Go on. Sorry.
Do you remember when Dustin Poirier put out that text message from Mike Brown, being like, "I knew there was gonna be a running knee happening." Do you reckon we could just be seeing the same here, but Poirier's on the other end?
You never know. Like, what I enjoyed most about the very first embedded is obviously you see the videos of him and his son and the training pictures and stuff, like.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, it's great to see, but I loved how he spoke to his 5-year-old as if, like, like that proper conversing, because he throws a spinning kick on the little dummy in the room, and he's like, that might be the shot champ. I think that, you know what I mean? Like, as if you're conversing with, like, Owen Roddy or something. I thought it was hilarious. It was very good.
You're just waiting for him to accidentally kick his son in the head, aren't you, on the mat? So it was just timed up perfectly for that. You see on You Been Framed or something in a year or two.
Yeah.
Being like, remember when that Irish fighter kicked his son in the head?
Yeah, can you imagine, right, in 15 years or something, if that young player ends up signing for the UFC?
It's already there. Christ. He's already got a poster that's got his signature on it. He's got posters going out. Someone in 20 years could be like, I've got the world champion signature from when he was 5 years old.
Nah, it's scary. It's scary. There's another fella as well. There's another little kid in SBG, Nate Kelly. Nate's, I think he's been there since he's like 8 or 9 or something like that. I'm not too sure. And he's like a world kickboxing champion and stuff like that. So he was the little kid in the McGregor Aldo press conference in Dublin where he asked Dana White for an advance. Like, he's gonna go right to the top as well. Like, some of these kids they're just world beaters in SBG. SBG is a good place. They're gonna get better and better. I think it'll be a long time before John Kavanagh. I know we're going off the co-main topic. John Kavanagh will have to be a couple of years gap between when Conor does stop and then John Kavanagh's next top fighter in the UFC. But he will have top fighters in the UFC, you know what I mean? Like, the talent in Ireland is just getting better and better and better.
It's just going to be
back to the co-main.
Back to the co-main, yeah. So it's going to be a matter of time. Also, we're seeing Khabib coach, and I wonder, I doubt it, because what McGregor put his business in, when he got Coach McGregor, Coach Khabib, Coach Holloway, Coach Poirier, and we just got that next bunch coming through. But looking at it tonight, obviously, it's interesting here. Michael Chandler's 5'8", we've got Dan Hooker at 6'3". That's a lengthy reach advantage or height advantage that Dan Hooker's got going tonight. And a 4-inch reach advantage too.
Yeah, but that just means you have to get on the inside and get under him, don't you? And get him to the ground.
And that's Chandler's game.
That's Chandler's game, yeah. But it sets up his right hand as well. Because Hooker knows Chandler's going to try and get on the inside and tap his legs, to try and get him down or even tease the takedown. The second he feels the left hand on his knee, that overhand right's there to crack him on the jaw. Don't be surprised if that's a method of victory tonight for Chandler. He's done it a few times. Who was a Pitbull that he done it to?
Possibly, yeah.
He didn't fake the shot around him, but he kind of just came in, dipped low, and smacked him with a right and out cold.
It happens so many times. It's what Khabib connected with Conor with, isn't it? He got so used to looking to that takedown that Khabib just threw out the other hand and theoretically dropped Conor. I don't know if it went down as official. I saw a lot of people being like, his hand didn't touch the mat or he didn't fully touch the mat, so it doesn't count.
Well, us Conor fans will reach to defend him. Don't worry. But yeah, like even like that, I spoke about that with my friend the other night. We were out and we had a chat about it, and it was the same kind of thing. Like, when did you ever see Khabib knock someone down, or just KO somebody? You don't. So you like automatically McGregor doesn't have respect for his striking, because the most he has to go off is him jabbing Ali Quinta into the face for 25 minutes, So he definitely didn't have that respect for him, but it was a cracker of a shot. It was a nice right hand.
How many calf kicks are we going to expect from Daniel? Because obviously we see there he's got a 5-inch leg reach advantage. You're just going to see him probably walking around the outside of that little octagon mark, and they have those two black lines. Just see him walking around outside there, kicking Chandler in the leg, probably 4 or 5 times perhaps.
I actually expect Poirier to try more with them tonight, because I think they're more beneficial to him than they are to Hooker. But yeah, everyone's showing out a calf kick tonight. Even if it's not in the game plan, you're calf kicking somebody.
It's obviously become more prevalent in a couple of years. In the last
Ben Henderson.
years.
Henderson done it against Diaz. He wrecked him.
But it's obviously McGregor's going to face that in previous fights and training camps. But it's almost like, we see it in football. Every 4 or 5 years, there's a bit of a transition. We see it in MMA. Sometimes, most recently it's been the wrestlers that have been quite predominant in the game. Before it was strikers, jiu-jitsu fighters, of course. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, you need a blend, but it almost feels like maybe, we do see something new to almost use against McGregor with calf kicks. So if he takes his right leg out, or his left leg, his power leg, it might change him as a fighter.
Well, I don't know about changing him as a fighter, because if that's the case, like, everyone on the planet is going to have to adapt to it, because it's the rage now, isn't it, the calf kick? So, but it's figuring out in the process of, setting up your game plan of how to, adapt to it, how to counter it. Can you counter it? If all goes wrong and we switch up our stance, what do we do next? You know what I mean? How do we nullify it? The thing with the inside leg kicks for the calves is a quick and easy check, isn't it? But it's getting your timing right and trying to inflict damage to your opponent. But it looks to be a tough one to counter anyway, and to avoid. Because what was one I seen? Who was it? I wasn't really a calf kick one. I was going to say I watched Barbosa and Dan Hooker the other night, but that was an assassination to the body. Yeah, I don't know why I had calf kick in my head there. Oh no, he did. He chopped his legs out. That's what I was thinking. He chopped his legs out as well. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Obviously, someone who's become accustomed to more head kicks, I guess, in recent fights, is Jessica Rai versus Joanne Calderwood. Well, Jessica Rai, she's come to this one saying that there's no beef there, despite their social media back and forth. I think she came out, and I'm paraphrasing here, being like, "Oh, if you hate me, you probably hate something about yourself," going down that sort of route. Obviously, Joanne Calderwood, the sweet obviously Scotland, she sounds like a sweet up, but once she gets inside the octagon, it's a whole different story, isn't it?
Get out. Yeah. The thing with Joanne Calderwood's in a tricky spot as well, though. Because like obviously she was due to fight for the title, and she goes out and loses. And it's like, right, well, where are you really gonna go from here now? How can you get back to that? And I don't think beating Jessica Oi was that far. And Jessica Oi's lost a couple of fights now as well, where it's like you're just that fighter in the division. I wouldn't even class her as a gatekeeper, and I'm not trying to sound disrespectful, but obviously she had a name when the divisions first started. She was this tough, gritty fighter and stuff, but she's never kicked on. She's won some fights, she's lost some fights, and I feel like Joanne Calderwood is in the same bracket almost now. So I don't even think this fight there's much for the winner. I still think they need another winner to get back to the title.
I wonder, because we see it with Donald Cerrone in the past, where if he takes a fight on short notice, he might get rewarded. I wonder the fact that Joanne Calderwood obviously was meant to fight Valentina Shevchenko. She was injured, but she kept to her word. Fought on the night, obviously against Jennifer Maia, who obviously won on the night. Fought for the title, put in a good first round, but ultimately Valentina Shevchenko was too much. I wonder the fact that maybe in Dana's eyes, if she gets a win tonight, maybe because there's obviously Jessica Andrade, maybe Cynthia Calvillo in there, but you'd expect them to fight for the title because it's a big, Jessica Andrade, former strawweight champion, had wins in 135 and 150. You expect her to fight for the title next. But I wonder if they give Joanna Calderwood a second chance, or they got to beat a Cynthia Calvillo maybe.
Yeah, well, I suppose it could, hold them in good stead in terms of their relationship with the company. It's like, well, you could have just chose not to fight, and you did. So fair play, and we respect you for that. So another win, you'll be all right. It could be the case. I'm just speaking of, from what I see inside the cage and the technical aspect. Are they good enough right now to go in and face Shevchenko? Neither of them are. They're just not. But exactly, that's what I was about to say. There's not many who are. The only person right now, well, there's two people right now who I'd like to see Shevchenko fight, and it's Weili Zhang and Amanda Nunes again for the trilogy. Even though she's 0-2, but sorry.
So it says everything about this division. We're looking at the 15th champion and the 135 champion. We're not looking at anyone in that division face it right now.
Exactly. Someone really needs to. I can't remember. We spoke about it before, Mitch. We spoke about a certain division where it was like, right, the champion was out injured, and it was like, right, okay, now it's time for, like, you can let it breathe now, let the division breathe now, and let people kind of work their way up, and so.
It might have been like heavyweight. Obviously, when John Jones vacated.
It might have been. I can't remember, but I know we were talking about it to where, like, it made sense now that the champion's out. Right, it gives the division some room to grow, doesn't it? And that division needs that a lot right now.
That in the heavyweight division at the moment just needs some fresh air breathed into it. I think.
Well, you're gonna have John Jones against somebody, so that's gonna be interesting regardless.
Well, that's true. You got Mia Chichinghanu too, and the winner's going to get John Jones on his debut, which could be interesting. I really hope
John Jones and Derek Lewis.
Right. It's going to be interesting because obviously, seeing him at 240, 250 at the moment, whether he's going to cut down a little bit, if he's 250 cuts down to 240, he's looking ripped at the moment. Hopefully, and I pray and I hope it is, and this is a massive allegedly, I hope it's clean. If he comes in and makes his heavyweight debut and pops, everyone goes, "Oh, for fuck's sake, John, you had one job."
Yeah, you had one job. No, I'd imagine it is. I'm pretty sure he's taking the right steps. He wants to go down as the greatest of all time.
He's taken a year out and pretty much said, "Right, I don't want the light heavyweight title anymore. I'm going up to 240. Let's not keep up the division too much." The only interesting thing is that if Adesanya comes at 205-pound champion.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, because you're a fanboy for Adesanya, aren't you? So, like,
just a little. I'm terrified. I wish Jan Blachowicz was the one guy I was like, yeah, do not go for that fight. But obviously Adesanya sees something there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a winnable fight for him. John Jones, I don't think so. But hey, who beats John Jones?
Matt Hamill. No.
2027.
We've got one more fight to look at tonight. Obviously, of course, it's two Brazilians, and I feel a bit hard done by this week. Obviously, it is a McGregor fight week. Obviously, it's Chandler's debut. But poor Amanda Ribas, she had a fantastic year, 3-0, beat Mackenzie Dern, Randa Marcus, of course, and then beat Paige VanZant, where I think she times 10 a social following. I think she came out with like 500k at the end. Dana White was talking about. She's got a little bit. She's got a 30-second segment in one of the embedded episodes. Do you think she's been undervalued here? And she's said it all up to the fight. She doesn't want to be known for fighting on a red card. She wants to be known as, did you see that girl in there? She stole the show.
But that's what comes of fighting on the McGregor card, So obviously it's up to her to go out and do that, to leave her name in people's mouths at 6 o'clock in the morning. Because but that's what comes of it. Like, you remember, like, she's on a McGregor card. Remember Jeremy Stevens knocking out Dennis Bermudez, and you're thinking, right, geez, you're at the scene of war with Robbie Lawler and Ronnie McDonald. McGregor's had to go in on an ACL tear, on his back for 2 rounds, and knocks out Chad Mendes, gets the title. But then there's, Jeremy Stevens, who just put on a war with Dennis Bermudez and a beautiful flying knee knockout. Like, the McGregor cards tend to bring out the best in people, so it's definitely a good platform for her, and it's up to her to make sure people know who she is afterwards. You remember McGregor Khabib, yeah. And I was in England for that one, right? I was over with my father, and we sat and we watched it, me, him, and my brother, and we were watching the Derek Lewis fight. He fought Volkov, didn't he?
Yes, because he
And
he
he
picked
got beat up all fight. And I just said it to her, I was like, don't worry, because that fella goes 100 miles an hour the last 30 seconds of the fight. He'll knock him out. And you're like, he's getting whooped, he's not going to. And he knocked him out with 30 seconds to go or something like that, you know? So it does a lot for people on the McGregor cards. I think that was when My Balls Were Hot was created as well, didn't it?
yeah,
Like,
actually
so
he
like,
knocked
it's
him
take a
out.
moment, like, have your
It's very,
moment and capture it.
it's very true because obviously he knocked out Volkov there with 11 seconds. Yeah, about 11 seconds left on the clock, and
Yeah.
obviously he headlined the next card at MSG because obviously Daniel Cormier was champion. Derek Lewis, well, he needed an opponent because Miocic was injured, and they went, Derek Lewis, you just had a viral moment, in you go. And unfortunately, he
Yeah,
was injured.
exactly. And so you just have to have that approach to fighting on the McGregor card, It's it's a big platform, so take advantage. It's like Conor said about the co-main. Remember the two lads on the co-main at the press conference the other day? They said, they're there to reap the rewards of being on that card. That's what it's all about. Like, that's why you wouldn't be surprised to see Mike Chandler go all guns blazing and knock Dan Hooker dead, because you're on the McGregor card, and who's going to talk about you the next day? Everybody. So,
100%.
yeah.
100%. It's interesting. She's
But
10. Go on.
yeah, no, but I was going to say, I do feel for them, like you said, in terms of like the exposure and the lead up to the fight. Clearly the attention's gone to the main and co-main. But yeah, look, it's unfortunate. But if I was them two, I'm pretty sure they're not dwelling on it right now, because what gets most of the eyes, the fights. So that's where I'm at.
100%. If she's got a viral clip at half 7 in the morning with a beautiful head kick or armbar like she got against Paige Van she's going to be in a good point. Marina Rodriguez is in fact coming off a loss against Carlos Barza. I believe that was a short notice fight at least. She drew to Cynthia Calvillo before that. She beat Tisha Torres. But obviously Amanda Ribas, and actually her last fight I believe was at 125 I believe against Paige Van as well. So it's her first
Mm-hmm.
time down back at strawweight for a little while since beating Mackenzie Dern I think.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting. It's a nice little matchup there. I think there's one spot between them, isn't there, in the rankings? So
Yes, Ribas is 10, and I think Marina's 8. I think she's got Tisha Torres in
yeah,
the middle.
yeah. When I seen it, it was 8 and 9, whatever. Well,
I think they just changed it this week.
yeah, that's what I mean. They obviously changed it.
Just
But yeah, even still, so yeah, you're not knocking one opponent off and making that move up the ladder. There's a couple of fights there in order to get into title contention. So, like you said,
definitely.
Ribas is on a good run, so you couldn't imagine it'd be too long for her.
I do feel sorry for Ribas because she was meant to fight Michelle Waterson tonight. I think even Carlos Barza was in the mix before pulling out, or there was that fight didn't come to fruition. So she's on her third opponent. I remember seeing last year at the start of 2020, her sort of goal was by the end of 2021, getting a title challenge. I think she wins obviously tonight. She moves up into a beautiful position in that top 8, and then you look at that Michelle Waterson to Claudia Gadelis, who has almost become the gatekeepers and maybe, with all due respect, the path to that strawweight division. We're getting that new blood coming through, the Weili Zhangs, Yang Jianans, and Amanda Ribas and Mackenzie Dern. I would put in that sort of bracket, the new blood for the strawweight division now.
Yeah, and like I know, like you said, Carla Esparza as well in there, like, and I think she's due to fight for the title soon, isn't she as well? Like, well, Dana's been flirting with the idea of having her step in for the title, But again, like these are the names you have to beat in order to move up the ladder. But yeah, I agree with everything you're saying in terms of the new blood and stuff. They're gonna do the business in that division. It's gonna be good. I'll give it a year or two. That division's gonna be pretty good. Be definitely one to keep your eyes on for sure.
Definitely. There's one fight that probably deserves maybe a little bit more attention, but due more to the fact of the controversy that happened yesterday. Obviously, Arman Tsarukyan was meant to be fighting Ottoman Azaita, I believe, or Matt Favola was, and obviously we found out yesterday Azaita did get cut from the UFC for a pretty stupid maneuver that he made, didn't
What a fucking idiot.
we know what he was smuggling now. We've all worked out what's in the bag. It's obviously M&M, but maybe it was worth it. Maybe it was worth it.
Fuck's sake. Very good. Yeah, that was a brain dead thing to do. Like you're sneaking people in who weren't COVID tested into a hotel that has
I imagine if you got the event cancelled.
Hasn't like how? Think of who's in that hotel, right? You've Conor McGregor. Think of his net worth. Think of Dana White's net worth. You know, like you have people, hundreds of millions of worth of people in a building fighting. You know, with all these restrictions, and you stupidly do that, and then you have some bloke acting the Spider-Man, climbing balconies and stuff just to smuggle a bag in. I don't get it. I would actually, I genuinely would like to know what was in the bag, like what the purpose of it was, like it was for, because
It's like, why?
what could it be? Like the only thing that was coming to my mind is like what was it, like enhancements or something like that?
Maybe.
You know,
But don't
like,
get tested tonight at least. Free
I don't
fight
know
stroke.
because I don't know how USADA is working with the whole Fight Island thing. I would imagine they are, but like with all the COVID testing and stuff, you haven't heard of USADA being on the island. Well, I haven't. You know, I haven't
Just a
seen
load
that.
of post-weighing candy or something. I wish they ever find out. 'Cause, you know, you heard Dana make his sort of press conference, scaling. I think like 4 balconies. You know, obviously Otman Azaita got caught on camera cutting off his wristband and giving it to his mate. It's a ludicrous decision.
Yeah, especially when you're 13-0 in the UFC and like you know your career's going in the right direction. You know, I'm pretty sure they'll find an organization to fight in for sure, but you know, people are going to be looking at that fella thinking like, what the fuck is going on in your head? Like, you know, like what's lacking up there? Because that's just it's a brain dead thing to do. You know, it doesn't make
Especially
sense.
2 days out from the fight, or a day out from the fight, even.
Yeah, but especially where he's doing it as well. Like, that's not by no means like that's a strict place to go to and break rules and restrictions. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
fucking idiot.
it is dangerous, and obviously we've got a new fight from that. Matt Fadolo was supposed to be fighting Zato, is now going to be fighting Zarukin after Zarukin's opponent missed weight, I believe, and had to withdraw
Calvin
from the
Gastelum, is it?
fight. Mini Calvin Gastelum, yeah.
Yeah.
Calvin Gastelum's mini brother. And
No, I seen Ariel said that he missed weight, but then I think Dana said he was sick and he
yeah,
couldn't do the fight.
he didn't show up to the weigh-ins, I think. So he must have
Right.
had a problem, obviously during the weight cut, and he's not been able to compete. Fortunately, for the two that are able to compete, you know,
He's
Matt
definitely
Fadolo.
Calvin's brother, so.
Yeah, it's just that like, if Matt Fadolo, you know, gone all that way, put that camp in, flown over to Abu Dhabi, got the quarantine in, and then his opponent's done something like that, and he's not able to compete, not able to make a paycheck for himself tonight. That would have been very, you know, very sad to see. But fortunately, he gets to fight tonight.
I think they would have got full paychecks if they didn't fight. That's being
Probably
dead
got
honest.
his. I wonder if he gets his paycheck as well from Zaita, who's because obviously he terminated his contract. He probably wouldn't have got paid. I wonder if Dana's a bit like, hey, I know you know, he was meant to fight. Is his paycheck as well?
I wouldn't think that, but like I definitely think they, you know, if them fights didn't come to fruition, I think they would have looked after him. You know, it's a big thing because it's different circumstances now. You're not just going for a fight. You know, you're putting your life at risk as well in the same, well, your health at risk with COVID. You know what I mean? You know, you have to quarantine as well, which is like very uncomfortable for most people. You know, when you're isolated and like you have the luxury of a comfortable bed, but it's like prison with luxury, isn't it? So like there's a lot of things that come into play with this one. So I'd imagine they would have been looked after.
I think that's what Bruce Buffer
Nicely.
called it in the Embedded series, didn't he? He's like, this is a 5-star golden prison. And Dustin was like, I've been in a lot of 0-star prisons before. So, you know, the exchange is there. But before we do, obviously got one more thing to talk about. Before we do wrap it up, get your predictions in the comments down below. Dustin Poirier or Conor McGregor, get the method in there, of course. And obviously the co-main event, Dan Hooker and Michael Chandler, get your predictions in there. But
The main event now we're talking about, is
the
it?
main
It's
event.
coming.
The main event. Obviously, we saw a little clip get leaked by Brendan Sharp about Eminem going at Dana White, and we was all looking at the internet as we do, going, "What's going on here?" Then, obviously, you know, Eminem was going at Dana White, saying that if everyone cared about your opinion, you'd have no league, pretty much. And then, obviously, today it's come out. They've got a music video, and I think we're in for a little prediction and a little performance, aren't we, for those 2,000 fans in attendance?
Well, yeah, they're teasing like the entrance as being something special, and then with the song, like obviously Eminem's been like,
I'm pretty sure ESPN own it at this point.
but he's obviously had a good relationship with the company, hadn't he? Obviously, they've used a lot of the songs in promotions and stuff like that. Obviously, there's the Eminem course where, you know, fighters walk out to his music and they don't seem to come out on the winning side. So, but
we're in for a draw tonight.
yeah, maybe. But no, like it could be. I don't. We're just obviously guessing here, but like, I'd imagine some sort of performance, because like the song, I found like the song that played with it was like it's more relatable to Conor McGregor than it is to anybody else. Like
I think
how obviously the song higher, like how high do you go without getting any higher? Like how can you? But yet you do. And that kind of like if you had to put that into an MMA aspect, you would look at Conor McGregor, wouldn't you? Because like, you've won the world title. How do you get any bigger than that? Okay, you win the second world title, right? But how do I get higher than that? I can't. Okay, fly now with it. You just keep saying to going and going and going. So like, I think that's what they were looking at. I wouldn't be surprised if he walked Eminem out or something. Or if he walked McGregor out or something.
that's the thing I
Either
was going to
way.
say there. Because obviously, he's become a little accustomed to it now, but he's obviously walking out first before Poirier. So, I think the tweet that was put out was like, right, it goes on the pre-show and then it goes on before the main event. Now, theoretically, it'd be interesting to see how they play this. If he performs and it transitions into that Foggy G music, of course, which is accustomed to McGregor.
I don't know because I remember I'm fully convinced, right, that I'm the reason for McGregor's walkout in New York, right? Because the second that fight got announced, I tweeted him, and it's actually on my old Twitter as well. I can't even dig it up, but I promise I'm telling the truth. I tweeted, if McGregor doesn't walk out to 50 Cent, I get money, then there's something wrong. And sure enough, you heard the Foggy Joe and then I get money because it made sense. That's kind of the same milk, you know what I mean? So I think it'd be good. He's in his
Yeah,
music video, like
yeah.
who's the one fighter that gets used a lot in the music video today? I think it was like 10 clips of Conor. There's a few of Poirier, Nunes, Izzy. Good. Good. I
It
like
was
it.
a
I
good
like
video,
seeing that. Like it was
but yeah,
the throwback to LL Cool J.
yes, that too, and it is nice to see. Obviously, you mentioned that McGregor and Eminem are on very similar paths. They get a lot of hate now. A lot of people are like, oh, they're past it. You've got, maybe 6ix9ine and these mumble rappers saying that they're better than them, getting a lot more sort of relevancy. And you got the old guy in the back, giving us hit after hit and putting out yearly releases with no promotion on it.
Yeah, I love how much I'm reaching right now, but I don't care. I'm excited.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's crazy because obviously I was going to say, there's some rappers that have gone at Eminem in the past to get on the scripted fighting show that is WWE, and we all know who that is, MGK,
Oh
and
yeah, Kevin Owens.
and with all due respect, Snoop Dogg gets onto the WWE a lot. It's almost like the real guy, the goat of the goats, comes out and goes, right, I'm going on the real stuff.
Yeah,
There's never
maybe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like we go for the top dog. Like, yeah, absolutely. Nah, it's good. Like, I like it because, and that's the one thing I feel like Conor McGregor's living my life through his eyes. You know what I mean? Because I'm a diehard Eminem fan. I'm a diehard MMA fan. I want all that money in the world and shit like that. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
when
And
that
he,
clip
and,
came out that ESPN posted and they used that higher song, it was like, yeah, we're on for a show here. And then obviously this week they've gone and given us little more snippets here and there.
yeah, because I texted you when they first put that out. Remember in the group chat, and I was like, "That's a Conor McGregor song." It just fit. So it'd definitely be interesting. I don't know
I don't,
if he'll perform at it, but who
I
knows?
don't
I'll be
know.
excited.
It'd be crazy if he does. Even if he does it on like a videotape, if he's still in say Detroit or America, and they just put the video up on him. But I
A
think he might be
hologram.
a hologram in a cage. That'd be sick.
Yeah, it'd be deadly.
Tupac
Um,
style.
yeah, Coachella. Yeah. No, look, it's good. Like, I think they should do more of that stuff anyway. Like, I was always amazed that they never done that. Like, they literally done it with McGregor and Mendes, but there's been so many fights where they could have done stuff like that and had a better production. Because one thing I will say, in terms of like, obviously, I don't like the stage that Bellator has, but they have a good little production setup in terms of like the walkouts and stuff. And UFC is just the blackout, isn't it? Coming out through the arena and stuff like that. I think they
I
done it
wonder if
once
they
with
are
Conor with
making
the
a.
fog for Khabib.
I
Huh?
wonder if they are. I wonder if they are making a small transition. Because obviously they have got this newer, younger audience, probably largely down to Conor McGregor. But obviously, when you think of UFC, you think of your hardcores getting in there to scrap. You don't have this funny business that you see at the Super Bowl or the NHL or NBA where you've got halftime shows. I wonder if the UFC are going to maybe, especially McGregor cards, maybe do a mini halftime show, maybe.
But did you notice they took the WWE model of like taking these graphics and having them kind of like floating through the arena as the fighters are walking out. I seen that and I was like, right, that's good. It's a step, like, do you know what I mean? Because they definitely need to do more stuff like that. But they can do better than that. You know what I mean? Obviously, they can do better than that. They know they can. You know, but I think it was just a case of like whether they wanted to or not. You know, but a bit of production on into the entrances. Like one thing that I always like, it always kind of like bothered me why the fighters never walked out with their titles. You know,
That's a good shout. They never do they?
like,
So I guess
no, like you do
always
it in
present
boxing. Yeah, you do it in boxing and stuff like that, but you're walking into the cage. Sure, now obviously fighters get a new title, don't they? Every time they defend it, like every time a champion defends his title, you just get a fresh one. But still, like I always thought it would have been a cool thing to walk out with your title. You know, have your
yeah.
camp holder up behind you or
To be
something.
fair now, because obviously the new belts are the jewels, aren't they? So maybe you could be walking out with the brand new belt, because obviously it's just the stone, I believe, that gets replaced rather than the full belt.
Yeah, like even in boxing when they do it, like when a fighter walks out, like when Anthony Joshua walked out against Ruiz and he had all the titles. You know, Ruiz collected them titles at the end of the night, but
Then gave them
Anthony
back
Joshua, yeah, but Anthony Joshua had to walk into his locker room straight after, didn't he, and took the titles back. You know, and then we'll just send you new ones in the post. You know.
Yeah, it is true. But yeah, I'm actually buzzing tonight. We were saying off, I think it was off there. This is our third event of the year, but it still feels like the first one. I feel like
Yeah.
Paul Fiesta and Max Holloway put on a stunning performance. Probably they've already taken Fighter of the Year nominations in the first week.
Well,
It feels
that
like they
fight
didn't exist.
set the standard.
And McGregor watched that on the other. He probably watched that. Maybe I think he turned up in Abu Dhabi probably Monday or Tuesday. But I know those two are going to, because obviously Max Holloway on the broadcast that I'm the best boxer in the UFC. And you can see McGregor's taken hold of that and gone, hold on, wait a week, and we'll show you the best boxer is. And McGregor loves that, doesn't he? He loves the competition side of it at the moment.
Yeah, he does, and there's a respect there as well between them two. Like, you know, they clearly like not friends or nothing like that, but they like each other.
Did you see the clip of McGregor seeing him skateboard past?
Very good. I wish there was another camera that actually showed him skateboarding past. Yeah. No, look, McGregor clearly has that competition, like that urge for competition. You know, whether it's healthy or not, he clearly wants to compete. And if someone's out there claiming that they're better than him in one aspect, he's gonna come back. He's gonna retaliate. It goes back to the Eminem thing. You know what I mean? If someone's out there like question your skills and your abilities, you're gonna respond back and show and prove you are. Like, you know. And I think that's the good thing with Conor, the way he's approaching it as well. Like, he's saying right now, I'm gonna show you who the best boxer is. But then he's like, he kind of also admits defeat in a sense where he's like, watch, I'm gonna end up knocking him out with a head kick or something. Do you know what I mean? And that'll piss him off that he didn't get to use his hands because he's brought in a boxing coach for the last 2 fights. No, so you don't know. Like, I'm having these weird thoughts lately where I can imagine him like catching Poirier in a rear naked choke or something like that.
Yeah, turns all grappling.
Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? I definitely think he gets a submission before his UFC career is over.
100%. I'm waiting for his book to come out. Obviously, he's got books written about him. But can you imagine in 20 years' time, he writes that book, and it's from page to page, and we see all the stories that he's gone through. Because I've read John Kavanagh's book, and there is a lot of similarities in McGregor's career where he goes through this period of being fully dedicated to the sport. Then he suffers maybe a loss or something that disinterests him, and he sort of falls off for a couple months. And then, whether it's John Kavanagh or his family, slowly reins it back in, and then we go, right, let's do another 16 months together. And, you make that Eminem comparison. It is funny because obviously he didn't directly go to Jake Paul and say, right, I know who you are. I know you've been calling him out. He's almost like, I've heard this YouTube kid, and maybe, Dana doesn't like it, but I'm not exactly opposed to it.
Yeah, because Conor likes money, but I hope that never happens.
For Jake Paul's sake.
Yeah, no, I couldn't care because I take great enjoyment in seeing him get the shit beat out of him, but I don't want to see that. Like, I'd rather watch. I don't even want to see him fight Pacquiao, but I'd rather Pacquiao fight over Jake Paul. You know what I mean?
At least it's legit. But
yeah, and there's a high chance that he loses the Pacquiao fight. You know what I mean? But Jake Paul, he's just gonna turn up and beat the fuck out of him.
100%.
It's not that. Like, Jake Paul's a dickhead, so why give him any publicity? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and before we do wrap it up, it does remind me now where we mentioned that about Max Holloway, because you saw at every event last year, McGregor would put a tweet out within 5 minutes, whether it was Nunes being called the greatest of all time. You saw, obviously Conor McGregor was like, oh, I'm not having this, I'm retiring. It was like, I'll fight the other, I'll fight this guy. You can see it doesn't matter. He could be worth $1 billion, and he probably is going to be worth $1 billion with what he's got going on in the year. he needs to be challenged competitively. And I think that's why he wants that Khabib rematch, because he knows he wasn't at his level, and he knows he can probably beat him. And I think it doesn't eat away at him, because you saw it against Nate Diaz, didn't you? As soon as he lost that fight, he was back in there going, I want the rematch. And I think that at the end of the day, when McGregor's time is done, we know he probably, I mean, he might go down in stretch time, depending on what he does in the next 5 to 6 years if he's fighting 3 or 4 times a year. But he's definitely the most influential. And
he's a Hall of Famer.
100%. I think competition is the name that we probably use to describe McGregor. Because you look at his resume, it's going to be one of the best probably in MMA.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's been a kind of pretty decent topic lately, hasn't it? That Conor McGregor's been very underrated and underpaid, you know, for as big as he is and as good as he is. People don't respect the skill set, you know. And they've been that way from day one. Like, they never wanted to like him. You know, people came on board and stuff like that, but a lot of people didn't want to like him, so they didn't even want to give him that chance, you know what I mean? And he just keeps showing up and showing out, doesn't he? Like, he puts beatings on people to where, like, it's almost like forcing people to accept it, but yet still some people just won't, you know? Some people just don't like it. And if he's not your cup of tea, that's fine, you know what I mean? You don't have to like it, of course. You know, but you're going to tune in, actually, because you're going to want to see him lose. It's like the Floyd Mayweather thing. I hated Floyd Mayweather until I actually finally accepted how good he was. You know, I just did not like him at all. And then it was like, he's brilliant. You know, you have to just respect it, you know? And that's the same with Conor. Conor is the Floyd Mayweather of MMA in the sense, right, okay, he's not undefeated, but he's that polarizing figure, you know? He captivates you. He's so good. Like, when watching his striking, like, in terms of, like, Eddie Alvarez. You've seen Eddie Alvarez go to war. Like, you've seen Nate Diaz go to war. You've seen Poirier go to war many a times. And McGregor's like not
Matt Holloway's gone to war a couple of times recently as well.
Yeah, and granted that was early in both of their careers, but you know that was a one-sided fight, even with one leg. You know what I mean? You had to just accept the fact that he is very, very good. You know, obviously the bit that worries me is the Khabib thing. Like, you know, because his takedown defense is very good. It's just Khabib is great. You know what I mean? And it's just about like whether he can manage to maintain the fight on the feet and get Khabib out there. But that's a question or a topic for another day. But yeah, he's definitely underappreciated, and I think I think when it's all said and done, he'll be missed because there won't be another one like him yet. Like, do you know what I mean? The closest thing the UFC have to him right now is Stylebender, and Stylebender's very good, and he can be a bit cringy, of course, but like, he's excellent, you know. But
and even he doesn't get the hate that McGregor does.
No, because it's like people don't want to see people do better, or it's almost like, you know, people have a problem with confidence. You know, it's like, what? How dare you go out there and say you're going to do that? I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like, why? Like,
how dare
you feel that way? You should speak your mind. The reason he's probably in that position where he is now is because he spoke his mind. Do you think he sits there and cares about how your woman Joanne on fucking Instagram is writing a comment saying he's a prick, just because he, you know, because he's saying something that has helped make 100 million or something for him? Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Aye, well, you know, we've only had, obviously, UK fans at least, we get most of the cards for free on BT Sport. Obviously, you've got to pay a monthly subscription. But we've had 3 pay-per-views that we've had to pay for in the past 12 months. 2 of them have been McGregor's. The other one Khabib and Gaethje. When McGregor fights, money, the whole globe makes money at the end of the day, because obviously pay-per-view, merch, etc. You just can't get away from that. And as you mentioned, other than Stylebender, no one else really. You look at maybe John Jones at his very best, but no, the last
not even close. Not
18
even close.
months.
John Jones, skill-wise, John Jones is the best. Do you know what I mean? But like, it's not even close in the sense of like, John Jones, has he ever made $1 million? Like, in terms of like pay-per-view boys?
Maybe
I don't think he has.
But I don't know.
I don't even think he has. I think he done 800,000 on one of his DC fights. But like, yeah, there's no one close to being that star, and there won't be for a while. You know, I think Izzy will be the next big star, but he won't be able to do numbers like that or have them crossover fights where people just want to see it. You know what I mean?
100%.
I could be wrong, but that's just an honest assessment of how I see it. You know, like no one seen this coming. You know what I mean? No one in Ireland seen this coming, apart from obviously Conor and his team. But nobody here, like we're Irish people, we're not used to getting to those heights. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, because he says it himself. Do you know what I mean? There's no one before him that he could look to say, right, I'm going to get to that path. You know, He had to do it himself.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've Katie Taylor and stuff like that. And Katie Taylor is great. She's probably the best Irish sports person, you know. But in terms of star, you know, she doesn't make a million. She doesn't sell out arenas worldwide. But she's amazing. You know what I mean? You look at football, Roy Keane. It's a European level, isn't it? Because it's soccer, you know. But yeah, but so that's what I'm saying. We're not used to having like, Irish stars at that height, you know, and people just hate on it. And unfortunately, no one can come close to emulating it or surpassing it.
I do envy it because obviously, you know, once you find your sort of person, the whole nation suddenly clicks into gear and goes, right, we're following whether it's McGregor, Kate Taylor. Whereas in the UK, we're like, we've got Darren Till, but because he's from Liverpool, you've got guys in Manchester and London being like, I can't support him. He supports Liverpool. You've got obviously Leon Edwards in Birmingham, who's fantastic. But again, you don't see the whole nation almost going, right, Leon Edwards is our guy. But in Ireland, and I think the Americans have that same thing about the UK, don't they? Because it's such a big nation of so many people. It's hard to pick one person because you might have this guy from Louisiana, Texas, and obviously it's a lot more segregated. Whereas in Ireland, and I think this is why you're probably the best fans that travel around everywhere because you see your talent, and once you pick your talent, and as you mentioned, because there isn't too many of you to tip you out on almost, it's crazy over there. And I hope we get to see Conor again in Dublin one more time, at least.
Yeah. Now I agree with everything you're saying because I remember Chad Mendes after he fought Conor, you know, and he gave a nod of respect to the Irish crowd in the arena that night, and he said he wished the American fans could be that way, you know, and that was always a question of mine as well. Like there's no one star in America that is as big as Conor, and it's because of that reason that you just said. There's so many fighters. Like the UFC is an American-based company that goes global, yeah, that expands globally in terms of like putting on shows and stuff like that and bringing in fighters. But they're an American-based company. They're based in Las Vegas. You know what I mean? So the majority of their fighters are American fighters. You know what I'm saying? But and there's how many millions in America? It's hard to root for one person. It's hard for one person of so many million to captivate that amount of people. You know what I mean? Whereas in Ireland, it's like you said with the Darren Till thing, there's a couple English fighters like the likes of Bisbing, there's the Darren Tills, Leon Edwards, there was always a decent influx, the Dan Hardys, decent influx of UK fighters, but in Ireland we're so small that even when, like, so I went to the McGregor Brandao fight, okay, and when I got there for the very first fight night, and the first fight was Paddy Houlihan against I can't even remember the dude's name. I don't even think he's at the company anymore. But Paddy Houlihan went in, dropped him with an uppercut, and subbed him in the first round. That place was just as loud as it was when McGregor knocked out Brandao. That was the first fight of the night. And if you look back at any of the videos, they always said that Irish crowd that night from start to finish was unbelievable. But that's how we are because we're such a small country that any chance we get to support someone who's potentially on the rise, we get behind. You know what I mean? Because we're not used to it really. You know, like I said, we do have certain sports athletes in athletes in different sports, but again, we just don't have that many. So when we do have it, we kind of take advantage of it. And I do believe that. I don't know if I believe, but I do hope to see Conor fight in Dublin again. But he can't fight in the Tree Arena. It's so small, like 9,000 people. Like he's going to fight in front of 3,000 people tonight, but 9,000 people.
During COVID
that
times.
Yeah, during COVID times, no problem. But
That'd be a typical way, wouldn't it?
yeah, but no, I wouldn't like. Even the Aviva is like a 55,000 that you could probably push to a 65,000.
Yeah.
You know, but then you have Crow Park, and if you put Conor in Crow Park, it would either have to be for a Khabib fight or something huge. You push that to 100,000 people, it's gonna fucking sell.
That's gonna be so loud if that ever happened. I think that'd be the loudest like event ever.
It would beat GSP in Canada. I think when he fought Jake Shields, he fought in a stadium. It would wipe the floor with that.
And that's where you make the Starbender, because obviously the Starbender Whitaker fight was in the Marble Stadium, which I think was 60,000, which I think that holds the record for the fans in attendance, because obviously it was where Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm happened. That was the previous record, and I think it broke it just by a couple of thousand. But you know, you mentioned it. It's the small lands in New Zealand, where Adesanya's from, of course. and you'd certainly break that record. And it would be interesting to see if he does come to Ireland, or if he at least fights in Great Britain. If he sold out, because it'd sell Wembley Stadium out easy. You'd get 120,000. I'm pretty sure 60, 70,000 would be Irish fans.
Yeah, but he would need to have an English fighter. He would need to be
Yeah.
fighting against a UK fighter. There's no other reason to have him there. You know what I'm saying? It would have to be like if Darren Till was still at welterweight or something when they organised that fight. Back when Darren Till was still undefeated. But yeah. Like they should definitely do it. Like I'm sure it pisses him off every day that he can't fight there. But
Well, that was
in the
his
same
last goal,
sense, his
wasn't it?
pockets get big. Yeah, but his pockets get bigger when he fights in Las Vegas. So he has to substitute. Like obviously, you get to a point where you've made enough money that you tend not to care about it. So yeah, give me the Dublin fight. I want one more fight in my hometown. You know what I mean?
Maybe his retirement fight. When he does say, "This is my last fight," you go, right, Croke Park, book it now, whether
No.
he's a champion or not.
No, because he'll lose or something. He will, and that's not how you want to go out. Because he won't retire then.
There'll be an absolute brawl in the Croke Park in Dublin.
It'd be like Bisping. Remember Bisping never lost in the UK or something like that. And he had his Was his retirement fight in England?
No, it was in Shanghai. But
he got knocked out by Gastelum, didn't he?
Yeah, he did defend his title in Manchester at 6 o'clock.
He
in the
defended
morning,
it. Sorry, yeah.
Which is
mental. But yeah, like I wouldn't. Not a hope. would I have me retirement fight in my hometown, because it's not how we'd want to go out.
Because it is interesting the fact that McGregor, when he came to the UFC, he was like, right, I'm going to become champion, double champ, and I'm going to sell out a stadium. That's the one bit that hasn't happened yet. Everything else he said he's done, and I'm pretty sure the McGregor that we see and the McGregor that comes out and says, I need to do this, this, and this, if he doesn't do that one thing, he's pretty call up Jake Paul and go, come on, we're meeting Croke Park when he's done. We just do it there, just so he can say he sold out a stadium.
I tell you what, though, he probably won't get the Euro Stadium, but I mean, like we talked about how Stylebender, right? He's a star, but he's not as big a star as Conor. GSP is a star, but he's not as big as Conor. They fought in stadiums. Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey as well over in Australia, wasn't it? So like, that you have had them moments. So like, if they put him in Dallas or something, or the Raider Stadium is that the new Raider Stadium in Vegas?
Yeah, in Vegas, right next.
Yeah, so like absolutely like a fight for him in the stadium where he can knock that off the bucket list. So it can 100% happen. The Irish one's more of a feel good factor. Can you just get that one in Ireland again? Because he's outgrown the Tree Arena. But my point to that was there's been lesser stars who fought in stadiums. So you'd imagine he would have fought in one by now. But it's finding the opponent that's big enough. Or even having the belt, because you're not going to put a non-title fight in a stadium. So you need to have a belt on the line. So if it's Khabib or a Gaethje or something like that, or whatever, an Usman if he went up to 170, that did their stadium fights that you have to do.
100%, and I think that's the best place to leave it there. I think because the card's just about to kick off in about 8 minutes, and we've had a fantastic chat about mainly McGregor, and I think it's only normal. Hopefully, we see him fight twice more this year in the cage, but we don't know how the world's going to go. It could be the first and last time, like it was last year again. So you have to savor these moments with the biggest star in MMA.
Sure, look, if it all goes wrong, we'll just see him back here next January.
Oh, don't. I think that's the one thing no one's really questioned. What if he loses? What happens then? Because he's going on this season. I think he would come back, wouldn't he? Or he'd probably go, right, I'm going to go fight Manny Pacquiao. Give me 6 months, I'll come back.
Yeah, I think if he lost, he'd probably go fight Pacquiao. You know what I mean? But if he wins, he's back into somewhere, I imagine.
Yeah, because I think he does fight 3 times. And actually, before we do go, let's not mention the fact that he made a $500,000 donation to obviously the Good Fight Foundation for Poirier, which is phenomenal in itself. Obviously, I think obviously McGregor gets all those bad headlines. He had another one this week, which we won't get into. But obviously, he had a phenomenal 2020 in terms of when COVID started and we had all this, the pandemic kicking off. He was fantastic with helping out the hospitals and whatnot. And again, he's kept to his word and given out $500,000 to Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, he's done stuff like that for many years now. I think he bought 8 houses. He bought 8 houses for to help kind of make a start on the homeless crisis in Ireland. He's paid he's anonymously paid bill. Or not anonymously. He done I think there was a GoFundMe before for some a sick child. about a year and a half ago now. There was like a sick child and there was a GoFundMe. He just threw in 10 grand. You know what I mean? Like he does stuff like that all the time. You know that kind of flies under the radar, and it's a good thing for both of them because McGregor obviously contributing to that is a good deed. But what Poirier's doing in the first place has been amazing. You know, you remember Khabib gave didn't Khabib auction off a T-shirt as well for the fight.
And his glove,
you know,
maybe even. But I know he definitely gave his shirt.
yeah, you know, like and that's a testament to how well respected Poirier is. You know, he's an all-round good guy, great fighter, but he's well respected as a human being first and foremost, and that's why these fighters go out of their way to help him. You know, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of fighters on that organization who have charities. You know, but Poirier carries that respect. He's earned that respect off his peers, and they clearly want to help out. You know, and that's what you're seeing Conor doing that now. It's good that there's been no bad blood. You know, there's definitely that itch. Like I think Conor's giving them the false sense of security by being friendly. I think no, it's alright. We're good. But he's gonna smack you out with the second the fight starts. You know,
100%.
but there's definitely a lot more respect between the two, and it's brilliant. It's good to see.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I was going to make the comparison earlier. It's almost like the first Conor McGregor was a cobra. This one's a boa constrictor, where it won't bite you, it won't be venomous, but it will wrap itself around you for a couple hours and go right and slowly kill you. And we saw it with Cerrone, killing kindness. I think he's doing it the same. I don't want to say Dustin Poirier was a little sketchy, but I did see the ceremonial weigh-ins on Embed, and he was like, you could see him getting that itch to compete, and you don't know if it's.
Oh yeah, he was definitely getting that itch.
If it's at that point Dustin Poirier breaks, obviously, he has been a lot more. A lot less invested emotionally into this fight, but I'd imagine there's a point about 4 a.m. local time where he's itching now to get at McGregor, but we don't know.
Yeah, like there's as respectful as they are. Like Conor can play the nice role all he wants because Conor's the one that has the win over him. You know, Poirier can play nice, but in the back of his head, he's like, I want to get you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I need to right this wrong, and it's not just because I'm righting the wrong. It's what comes with doing it. You know, if he beat Conor the first time round, it wouldn't have done much for him, really. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, like he would have got a decent fight here and there, but he wouldn't have got a title fight.
Everyone would have gone, oh, Conor McGregor's just not that good then.
Yeah, exactly. But whereas now he's fighting the global superstar, you know, the champ, as they say. So, like that comes with big things come with that, and he did look a bit like, you know, I want to hit you. Do you know what I mean? Like in a good way, like he's just excited and he's ready to go. But that can be a detriment as well. Look, we're clearly reaching here, Mitch. You know what I mean? But it's also a very realistic factor. You know that like he could go in overexcited and it might not work out in his favour.
And I think we do have to reach because they have both kept their cards very close to their chest. Obviously, McGregor's made his predictions, but he does that all the time. Obviously, Dustin Poirier's almost kept his emotions within himself. And he, again, we are running over here a little bit, but you saw it, didn't you? McGregor, once he made weight, because obviously he stepped on the scales first at 155, and you see him lurking about waiting for Poirier to make that move. And he was like, "Oh, good work, Dustin. See you in the cage."
Yeah, and Poirier was the same. He was like, "Oh yeah, you too," and all like.
You could tell McGregor still got it, hasn't he? He knew he waited there on purpose.
You go back to the Eminem thing. He's just adapted with eras. You know what I mean? You got away from the trash talk, and how can he mentally get with someone by being nice? You know what I mean?
Before breakfast. Good work. But yeah, I think
it'd be good. Can't wait.
100%, and yeah, it's just amazing to have him back. And hopefully, I try to be as non-biased as possible. I hope we see him get a good win tonight. And actually, make sure to hit everyone hit that subscribe button if you're hitting that follow button on Facebook as well. And yeah, how I feel we'd see McGregor back. Make sure to hit Jay up on Twitter as well. I'm sure he will be on Twitter most of the night. Probably if Eminem does perform, you'll be seeing those tweets pop up. And then when McGregor gets the 60-second KO, you'll be seeing another bunch of tweets going up, along with something like that could be, please come back.
Yeah, I'll put up a selfie with me and me bought the proper 12.
That's the one thing I haven't got tonight because they don't do it in the shops in the UK. I'm gutted.
You didn't even get a proper 12 for the fight. What type of fan are you?
I'm on the Copperbergs tonight, but hey, we will.
I'm on the Coke.
Isn't that the Conor McGregor special? Proper 12 and a bit of coke.
Shut this down before we get taken off.
Allegedly. Yes, we will see you guys on the review on Monday, of course. And streamers out there, good luck tomorrow morning, because I'm sure Dana's going to be right there outside your door.
Yeah,
But
he's watching.
We will see you guys on the next video.
Take it easy.